This one hurts just a little bit more than some of the others, folks. Earlier today, we got the news that a pretty legendary actor in the sci fi community passed away. And for this dino nerd, I would be remiss if I didn't pay my respects right off the top to the legendary Mr. Sam Neill. Um, just recently overcame a battle with blood cancer, used a very new form of treatment, and then passed away suddenly from something else, with details still to be determined. But his portrayal of Dr. Alan Grant was part of what got me interested in franchises outside of Star Wars, got me interested in dinosaurs, got me interested in adventure. And without him, I don't think Jurassic Park is as successful of a movie or a franchise as it has turned into today. Um, we'll be talking about him a little bit, but we're also going to be talking the latest episode of House of the Dragon. We'll be talking Elm Street, Crystal Lake, Halloween, and so much more on this 35th episode of House of the Empire. It's a little solemn off the start, but I promise it'll be a jam packed episode that is worth your time if you hang out with us for the next couple of hours. I'm Zach. I'm joined here by a cast of really great characters who have been on to talk about House of the Dragon with us at one point or another over the last several weeks, several months, and in some cases, like Sean, over the last several years. We've been talking about this franchise. So it's good to be back, and it's good to have all y'all along for the ride. I'm just going to go clockwise to say my hellos. Ryan, how's your week on?
Hey, thanks, Zach. And I agree. Sentiments to Sam and the whole community. That was very unexpected. So I wanted to get that out as well. I'm doing pretty good, man. It's mentioned this earlier and before we got going that got vacation going into next week, going down to the Cape here in New England where I live. So looking forward to that. So this episode was very enjoyable, and I have a very enjoyable week ahead. So a lot to look forward to.
I just got back from a little weekend getaway in the woods. It was very, very peaceful, and went to a casino and actually doubled my winnings, which is not something I do very often. It went from 300 to 600, so it's meager, but I mean, anytime you come out plus is a pretty good day. So,
Agreed.
But do you know the song "Escape" by Rupert Holmes? If you like pina coladas and getting caught in the rain. Um,
Absolutely.
I learned the hard way that I do not like getting caught in the rain. We were hiking and a storm blew through, and it was a looping trail. So we were at the very top of the loop, and whether we pushed forward or went back, it was the same distance. And so my wife and I just trudged through the mud and eventually made it back to our car. But I am allergic to pineapple, so I really do not like pina coladas, and I do not like getting caught in the rain. So that song becomes less and less applicable to me day by day. Um, Sean, um, I think those of us off screen know how your week's going. I'm not going to ask you that question, but I am going to ask you what some of your initial thoughts were on this episode as we get into the mid-season finale of House of the Dragon.
I would say that it felt like kind of a traditional Game of Thrones, middle of the season, brick building, if you will, episode where you're starting to lay down layers or build up layers to be looked at later on. I mean, right out of the gate, I'll say I think it's the weakest of the four episodes, but that doesn't mean that I didn't like it. I just think the previous three episodes is a really high bar to hold up to. And I still have really enjoyed the episode. I have not had the opportunity to watch any of the behind the scenes stuff from this week yet, though. I'm looking forward to doing that. And yeah, it felt like traditional Game of Thrones, and I don't think it's a bad thing.
I only saw the 9-minute featurette. I didn't watch the House that Dragons built, but what I saw was pretty interesting as far as the character development that they were trying to build. But you're right, as far as overall ratings go, I just checked it out on IMDb. It might be one of the lowest rated of the entire show. It's currently sitting at 7.7 out of 10. So that may be interesting to account for when we start taking our final scores later on in this episode. But um, Dustin, first of all, hello. And second of all, how's your week and how's your thoughts on this episode?
Sorry, I was on mute there.
Mute monster.
Yep.
See, I can't tell you that you're muted when I can't actually see you talking. So it's just like I think he's ignoring me.
No, not at all. The week is going good. I have been officially on full-time daddy duty the last week and a half, finishing up this week, while my wife transitioned back to work. So, taking care of a almost 4-year-old going on 14-year-old and a 3-month-old has been kicking my ass a little bit, but in a good way, right? They're only going to be this young, so they're only going to be this young once, and so throwing myself into that. That's why it's been pretty hectic with things around the house and everything else going on, as we all have lives outside of everything we do here. So this is a great chance to break away from some of that stuff and talk some of this, the Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, and other content. I agree with Sean. I thought this episode felt so much more like, the intrigue, kind of the character studies of some of the original, the House of the Dragon seasons or Game of Thrones seasons. So, thought this was still a good episode. I think it was probably my least favorite of the episodes so far. But that just says that those other 3 episodes have been really great. Doesn't mean this episode is bad, just different scale of what they were putting out. So excited to see what everyone else thought.
Yeah, it looks like the season 2 finale is the lowest rated episode on the entire series. I don't know if it deserves that kind of hate. Like, looking back on it, if it had actually been the 8th episode and these 2 episodes we got here at the top of season 3 had actually been the finale, it might have been a solid buildup. But I think the fact that they made us wait was the thing that really hurt that episode more than anything. But yeah, Randy, I feel like you and I have been fairly kindred spirits about some of the other franchises that we watched outside of this and outside of Star Wars. I'll let you lead off. We're going to do a brief tribute talking about Sam Neill before we dive headfirst into this episode. What did you make of the news, and do you have any memories of the Jurassic franchise involving him that you'd like to share?
Yeah, it was one of those interesting things. I wouldn't say interesting things, but tough things to wake up to, just because it's the second straight day of waking up to hearing of someone of note passing. So it's just, like they say, it comes in threes, and I guess Sam Neill was number 3 at this point. So it's heartbreaking just to know that he fought as hard as he could, and it felt like he had, he beat cancer. I mean, fuck cancer, because that's just, it sucks. And I know, and I'm sure each and every one of us have been affected by it with a loved one or a friend or somebody close in some way, shape, or form at any part in our lives. So, but as far as movies go, I remember going to see Jurassic Park when it came out when I was a kid. So to go to the theater when it first opened up, because I was huge into dinosaurs as a kid growing up. Wanted to be a paleontologist, knew how to spell it, knew what it was. And then I got older and realized, well, this is an expensive trip that's not going to potentially work out for me. But yeah, watching him in those in Jurassic Park really kind of helped fuel that a lot for me. It was just cool just to see, the potential of what it would be like to be a paleontologist, even though, as we know, when it comes to the writings of Michael Crichton, it's always, he tries to be as much science fact as humanly possible, but always still science fiction. But yeah, that movie for me, that was my introduction to him. And I thought that was, it was a great way to, learn about him and start to see more movies with him in it. But ultimately, you never forget that first time you see Jurassic Park. You never forget that first moment where he scares the shit out of the kids by pretending to electrocute himself on the fence. I thought that was very well done. And he had a great character arc too in the movie itself. But other than that, yeah, it's heartbreaking because we're getting to that age now where a lot of the people we looked up to, our heroes, as we grew up as kids, they're starting to get to that point where they're passing away, and it leaves that a hole in you, inside yourself a little bit, just because one of the things I've learned about is why we're so attached to characters. The brain kind of says, if you watch movies over and over again, or TV, or a certain cartoon, movie, TV show, the more you watch it, the more your brain identifies those characters as friends. So when you see that particular person pass, depending on how the effect they had on you, it feels like you're losing a friend. And thinking back to it, this is how it feels. It really does feel like the passing of Sam Neill, you're losing a childhood friend that you grew up with, that kind of helped push your love of certain subjects, like whether it be dinosaurs, or if you're from the horror side, Into the Mouth of Madness or Event Horizon, stuff like that. So, it's tough, but he leaves a lasting legacy, and it's awesome to know that at any moment we can just turn on the streaming service and watch a movie, and there he is. So he may be gone, but he's definitely not going to be forgotten.
Well, I'm definitely going to do my part, make sure he isn't forgotten. I've got a personal favorite that I'll probably touch on at the end here, but Ryan, do you have any Jurassic memories or Sam Neill memories that you'd like to share?
Well, I was very young when Jurassic first came out, but I was very scared to watch the movie actually when I was a kid. But after I kind of got a chance to watch it, went back and watched it, and then watched the trilogy, and it just, I don't know, it just resonated with him and his character, and even just kind of the strength he showed in the movie, and how he portrayed the role actually really stuck out to me. And and I can go back and I can just envision so many scenes, with him in the Jeep, or it's just all of the things that he's done have really inspired me in my history. I'm not as much into the dinos as you guys are, but he's the reason I watched those movies in the first place, and that means something. And honestly, even just recently, he was in a commercial. I think it was AI based, but he was Back in the World. We just saw it a couple months ago, and to me, that was taking me back right to where I was in the early 90s when I was a younger kid, and just seeing him in this situation after he beat the cancer, and after he was getting back on his feet, and there he was. I think being himself in his most iconic role was something that I will definitely remember. So those are the things I'm going to take away from it.
I'm really glad that they were able to get the big three back together in a movie a couple of years back with Dominion. I know that it's a very split film, but the fact that they were able to bring that kind of closure is something that not even Star Wars was able to do, because they lost Carrie Fisher. And so I think I'm going to appreciate that movie a little bit more now that we know that any future reunions are basically no longer possible. Sean, I know dinosaurs are pretty big in your family. How how are you guys taking it, and what memories mayhaps have you taken away from today's news?
Well, we made a choice not to tell Jensen. He's going through enough with everything that's going on in our family right now. So we just made a choice to watch Jurassic Park today and soak it all in and the performance all in. And another day when we have more time, I'd love to dive into that movie. It's not something we've covered too much on this channel, but I feel like there's some nuances in that movie that don't get the attention they deserve, that aren't even live dinosaur based, right? Like there's a whole other subplot to the film that I feel like doesn't get the attention it deserves, surrounding a character that our buddy Mondo cosplays. So would love to dive into that at some point in time. I'll say this: he's again, for as an outsider, Sam Neill struck me as the kind of guy who was not your typical Hollywood guy, similar to Harrison Ford. And obviously, the connection there is Steven Spielberg wanted Harrison Ford to play the role. Harrison Ford turned it down. Sam Neill ended up taking the role. Um, he just loved life, right? And like that alone, forget the movie accomplishments. Loving life and learning to live in the moment is something I think we all can learn from. But I will say this on screen: I think there are performers, actors, actresses that have the ability to elevate material, elevate what are not good movies. And I think Jurassic Park 3 is an example of that. I don't think it's a good film at all. When you look at the quality of the first two movies, and Sam Neill walked in there and said, "Okay, well, I'm going to take your chicken shit and make a chicken salad." He's really good all throughout that movie, and it's a terrible loss. It's obviously it's worse knowing that he just recently beat blood cancer just to succumb to possibly something else, and um, it's awful. But thankfully for all of us, he has left a treasure trove of movies that is not just Jurassic Park, to enjoy his embodiment of work for the rest of the time that we all have on this earth.
It's funny you're talking about his love of life. He also really loved the land that he grew up in. He was a very big proponent of New Zealand. He was born in Ireland and then moved to New Zealand at the age of 7, and pretty much ever since then considered himself like the ambassador for the island. And anytime he was doing any kind of big production, anytime there was a press tour, um, I remember him making mentions of his hometown or his desire to get back to his vineyard and get back to his family. Um, and that was one of the balances that I think he was able to strike so incredibly well. Was like you said, he can elevate things by his performance. There are tons of tributes being paid to him all across social media today. He was absolutely beloved by the media and by his fellow actors and actresses. But he was just also a lover of life, and loved what he did, and uh, loved his community. And that's probably one of the biggest takeaways I'm going to have from his impact is you can have like an acting career. You can be a really great actor, but you can have a little vineyard on a beautiful island as well if you want to. Like he was truly able to get the best of both worlds, and of that, I am I am jealous of him. Um, Dustin, how about you? Any Sam Neill slash Jurassic memories that come to mind?
Oh yeah, I mean Jurassic Park was one of those movies that was always on rotation for me. Um, that and Jaws, Jaws being probably one of my favorite movies all time. But my introduction was Jurassic Park, and just seeing him progress throughout that entire movie, starting out with you know messing with that kid and talking about how, you know, they are alive. You are alive when they start to eat you. And it scared the crap out of that kid. And it was such a great moment. And his hatred for, or not the hatred, but just disdain of like, I don't want kids. They're messy, they're smelly, they're all this and that. And then he becomes a father throughout that entire movie, protecting these kids and learning to care about them. Um, and then, you know, as I got older, I saw other things he was in. He was in, like, you know, Bicentennial Man, where he's, you know, the father, and he was just in this endearing role. And, you know, things like he had such a range. And then you go into like Randy brought up, you know, The Mouth of Madness or Event Horizon, just being these really grotesque horror movies that he is fantastic in. And he had a way of elevating any movie that he was in, just by him being there. And as Sean said, Jurassic Park 3, not a great movie, but his presence in that movie elevated it, just because you're like, that's Alan Grant. That's, you know, he knows what he's doing. And, you know, even if he'll forever live with that meme of, you know, the velociraptor when he wakes up on the plane and it's Alan, hey, Alan, you know, stuff like that. And the more that I've read, you know, just today about the kind of person he was, it's very nice to see that people genuinely had a love for him in his craft and the person that he was. And there's very few people you know, think that get through their career and are not the prototypical Hollywood star that give back to their community and are good people. And seeing some of the stuff come in, like from Jeff and the two children actors from the movie in Jurassic Park, was really touching. That him and Jeff Goldblum stayed in touch for many years, and they were still very close friends. And, you know, that's the whole reason I went to see Dominion. I was not a really big, huge fan of the other Jurassic World. You know, the first one was okay, the second one, yeah, but Dominion, I was like, okay, they're bringing him back. It was like, I'm going to see it because, you know, they're in it and he's in it. So, yeah, it's a unfortunate loss, and unfortunately, the good ones sometimes get taken when, you know, there may be other fitting candidates to take that place, but that's not for me to decide. But yeah, it's another one that hits hard of, you know, someone from my memory as my childhood and as I've gotten older. And yeah, again, he's left a lasting legacy, like so many actors, where he hit people that loved him. And, you know, it's a rare thing where you can go back and say, hey, I want to see that person again. You can pop in a movie and see them, and they live again. So condolences to everyone that knew him and his family. And it's a big one for the, you know, for the industry and for fans around the world.
Yep. I'll just end this little segment with this thought. The man had such incredible range. Maybe a lot of people knew him as Alan Grant, but you touched on the one that I wanted to mention, which is Bicentennial Man. Him playing in a dramatic role opposite Robin Williams is one of the most unique things you will ever see in cinema. And I highly recommend that film to anybody who hasn't seen it, as well as The Hunt for Red October. Plays a supporting role in that, but plays that role incredibly well. And I think it was that role that landed him Jurassic Park. So yeah, he's got quite a repertoire. And if we could have an episode dedicated entirely to him and his acting roles, Lord knows I would be all over it. But we are here to talk about other things as well. So, Randy, I didn't really.
Sorry, I smell a top 10 Sam Neill movies down the road.
We very well could. We absolutely could. At minimum 10, probably. But Randy, I started you off with the Sam Neill stuff. Didn't get to hear very many of your thoughts on the episode. Why don't we do like a counterclockwise rotation of spoiler-free thoughts on this episode? And you know, we'll do a minute or so each, and then we'll give people the spoiler warning and dive deeper into the nitty-gritty.
So for me, this is definitely out of the season, definitely not my favorite episode. This is probably down near the bottom. And it's not that, like you've all said, it's not that it's a bad episode. It's just this felt like, and I won't even call it a filler because it's not a filler. This set up a lot, this put in a lot of different little uh, interesting points that we need to pay attention to for the rest of the season. This is the okay, we're setting it up. Now it's time to knock him down the next 4 episodes. And I can only imagine what the penultimate episode is going to be like, considering what we saw set up in this past episode. It didn't feel like there was anything. It didn't feel like any one person got too much screen time. It felt like it was very evenly dispersed. So it was just a little slower. But again, it was because we're setting stuff up for the rest of the season. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to talk about it because I'm still trying to figure out like who my favorite character was and like which scenes really stuck out to me the most. So I can't wait to get into that discussion.
Dustin, if you were going to do some 60-second spoiler-free, but maybe touching on, certain elements that maybe stood out to you while avoiding outright spoilers, how would that look for you?
Yeah, just I think it's a much needed episode because you need to have, as Randy said, you need to set up some elements of who are the players in the game, where are we taking it, the direction, like we've had this big stuff happen. So now we have to start setting up the plan, who are the characters, what are their plans, where do we see this going, and how is this going to affect the next 4 episodes. So although again, not my favorite episode, I think it was a much needed episode. And I still think there was really cool moments in this episode, if not, the best episode. There was moments that stood out to me, which we can talk about next.
Sean, how about you?
I mean, I already gave my thoughts off the top, so I'll throw an audible here and just say, I don't think it might have been last week I brought it up. I can't remember, but I feel like there's some foreshadowing going on. I know Jade was talking about it in a chat that some of us are in. All I'll say is this, I've been holding out hope that the events of House of the Dragon weren't completely spoiled in Game of Thrones, and because it's all a matter of perspective, and they've already done so much changing from what's written in the literature. But I gotta tell you, starting to wonder if that's not the case, and I would just strongly advise people that if you do not want to be spoiled, I know season 4 doesn't come out till 2028, but maybe avoid rewatching Game of Thrones until then, or at least skip seasons 3 and 4.
Is it season 3? I thought it might have been season 4, but I think
It's either late 3 or very early 4. It's one of the two.
I think it's late 3 because Joffrey dies in early 4, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think it's 4-2 he dies in. So it's either the premiere 4 or very late 3. But I would strongly advise everyone not rewatching that if they don't want to be spoiled.
Yep. I know what you're alluding to, and I definitely have some thoughts on that. Ryan, was there something in this episode that you felt like maybe should have been in another episode? I'm trying to like dance around, like, just give me 60 seconds of spoiler free. Like, did you notice anything in this episode that you felt like belonged maybe in a different episode and you were surprised to find it in this one?
Honestly, I thought they did a good job in this episode of giving everybody their equal playing field, equal amount of time. I think Sean touched on it at the top, that this really did feel like the typical Game of Thrones episode, really world building, story building. I'm sure there was some bits and pieces that they could have carved out, put in previous episodes, maybe even put into future episodes. But the thing I took away from this is there's a hell of a lot of identity crisis occurring. Like, I just feel like everybody went through it in some capacity in last night's episode, tugging at various, how should I handle this? How should I feel about this? Am I doing the right thing? Am I, I really feel like when we start getting into the nitty gritty of this episode, I think it's going to become pretty obvious that every major character had a decision to make in this episode that really could have pivoted their opinion, their trajectory one way or the other. So I really felt like this was an identity episode for a lot of these main characters.
Well, we're about 30 plus minutes into this show, so I think that's pretty good spoiler-free content for those that haven't seen the episode. You got to hear a little bit about our thoughts on it. You got to hear a little bit on Sam Neill. We'll go ahead and make this the official spoiler warning, because I really want to follow up on what you mean by this, Ryan. Because I know that Rhaenyra is like the obvious subject for this, but there's definitely other people that are facing identity crisis related situations. So let's just make this our spoiler warning for the folks that are viewing, and let's dive a little deeper into what you mean by this, Ryan, because I'd love to hear more.
So I think the big thing with this episode, more than anything else, was we really, for the first time, got introduced to Ormond Hightower and Daeron Targaryen. Like, yes, we've seen them in bits and pieces and short blurbs in previous episodes, but this was their coming out party, in my opinion. And I've said this pretty much every episode. I haven't read the books, so I only have to go off what I'm visually seeing. And I know Alicent made a comment, I believe it was in this episode, maybe it was in the previous episode, about sending Daeron off to the High Towers to try to live a life that, not be ruined by by living in the red.
Mm-hmm.
And we see in this episode the pure manipulation from Ormond in the way he was raising Daeron as his squire. And I think Ormond, one of his strengths clearly is his ability to manipulate. And I think Daeron is in a real mental, emotional conflict of who he is as a person. Like, he's obviously grown up around Ormond and the High Towers, and Ormond has made it pretty clear that he does not have a lot of, he has quite a bit of disdain for the Targaryens and their dragons, and yet he's raising one. So I think there's a major emotional conflict, and I even think at the very end of the episode we saw it with Tasnir. I'm sorry, the name of the dragon, Tarnesis. How emotional the dragon got at the very end, when it kind of felt like Daeron was in an emotionally difficult position. So to me, that was a huge, huge portion of this episode that I think will have long-term repercussions going forward.
Yeah, we really do get to dive into the mentality of Ormond a little bit. We get to see how Daeron basically has the ability to anticipate when Ormond's about to flip out after he gets the Raven and gets the news that Aemon's not going to be joining them. I don't know if he had a tick or a tell or something, but I think one of my favorite subtle scenes in this episode was when Daeron basically told everybody to clear the room, told the messenger to get out, had the servants leave, whatever. Like, he knew Ormond was about to flip out and wanted to give him the dignity of, having his moment without having a bunch of people observing. So that moment when he says, like, get out, and they're like, my prince, he goes, get out. He knew what was coming. And then we as the viewers get to see something that he's obviously seen multiple times before, and to the point he's able to anticipate it. That was definitely fascinating. Sean, there's definitely more than just those two players that are facing some identity issues. I would say Alicent is really struggling with, does she try to, continue to advise Rhaenyra when she pops in to visit, or does her priority turn now to her daughter who is expecting, which that's a big threat. That's a big deal to Rhaenyra's claim. Um, but then Kristen Cole was having some identity issues, basically wanting to turn into Robin Hood, it seems like. And then Damon has a pretty big reveal that kind of shifts the way that he approaches things. What did you make of some of those uh, character altering moments that took place in this episode?
I mean, I wish I could say I have a lot to add on Kristen Cole, but the sooner he gets a sudden drop and sudden stop, the better. Um, but yeah, the Helena bit, I think we're gonna see. I mean, I don't think the character is gonna be explored in the way Mr. George R. R. Martin wanted it to be explored in, but I think we're gonna see that character, one of the characters he was upset that was omitted, eventually be in, possibly. And then on the Damon front, one of the conversations we had at our place was, hey, look, if you want to talk about character development. If you go back to Damon in season 1, probably for the first, I don't know, 6 or 7 episodes, he finds his daughter in that cave, daughter or not, he is probably killing her. No questions asked. And Damon here in season 3, with the growth his character has and him seeing essentially Viserys' visions of the Song of Ice and Fire and seeing Viserys himself and how much his take on sort of everything has changed. It was a very different approach for him. So, because I know some people have said Damon's one-dimensional, and I don't know what show they're fucking watching because you've been paying attention to it. He may have started that way, but he definitely isn't that way now, and this episode was further proof of that.
Dustin, I want to carry the identity motif because I think Ryan's spot on with that, and I'm inspired now to see how far we can run with it. Um, let's talk a little bit about Rhaenyra's identity and how she's still trying to solidify herself in the eyes of her people and trying to figure out what advisors she can and cannot have. And um, she keeps Orwell on while he serves a purpose, but the absence of Corliss definitely is playing a factor in her decision making. Like he was in the throne room advising her when she met with the small folk just an episode or two ago, and now he finds himself completely absent after they're falling out. Um, what do you make of Rhaenyra's identity as she continues to develop herself as the the ruler, and what kind of advisors she's been able to put in place?
Yeah, I think, and she's definitely in a tough position, right? She's now taken the Iron Throne. She understands what needs to be done, but also you need, the, and I think last episode really shined that light on this, that, you're getting the throne, but there are still people's lives that are taking place. And I think the show is trying to, and what other seasons of Game of Thrones didn't really show, is what about the average people that are just living like in King's Landing or in the place that what was it, that the High Towers took over the Green Army. They came in and they were like, hey, we're going to go into their houses because they're not going to burn down an entire bunch of people because that would make her look awful. So she's in this tough position where she kind of knows what she needs to do, but she just doesn't have the pieces to do it, and finding the people that are loyal to her. Because, I mean, even when she was telling Damon, look, we need to take this coin that we've gotten from the Vale, and we need to make sure we take care of the people because they are ultimately the ones that hold us up. And she, I think, is struggling with what's that balance between Iron Fist and being someone like her father, Viserys, who was, trying to really keep the peace. And Daemon kind of just keeps, he has been a character that has grown, and since he's seen the Song of Ice and Fire, he's realized, like, okay, I need to get my shit together. And seeing what he's doing, like, it's like he takes one step forward to help Rhaenyra and then takes two steps back. Telling the Gold Cloaks, like, hey, we got to go and take care of this issue, but how they're handling the issue is causing even more people to be, dissatisfied with what's going on. So I've really enjoyed the fact that they're taking this, like, look at the common folk and how she wants to take care of them because she knows, A, it's the right thing to do, B, they keep you in power. Because if they love you, they'll be willing to support you and fight for you and die for you. So it's interesting to see her, step into this role of, like, I've been fighting to get the throne. Now I'm here, and I don't have the coin. I don't have the pieces to do this. And how do I basically make it work with a bunch of clowns? And the people that are here, I may have damaged my... by trying to seize the throne and have claimant to the throne, may have hurt, like Corlys, right? You hurt some of those relationships with people that are your most trusted advisors. And you see that all the time, where it's my political ambition gets in the way of doing what's right and the relationships it costs you. So it's going to be interesting to see how much she can take. And as Daemon said, like, when all this stuff falls around your ears, she's going to basically be, back on track. So it's like she has people that are vying for her and helping her and also doing her a disservice. So it's really reflects the difference with Alicent and seeing, like, man, this shit's messed up and I just don't want to be a part of this anymore. Like, what is it for? So it'll be interesting to see how she handles this going forward and what decisions she has to make to solidify the people around her and who she decides to ultimately trust.
Yeah, absolutely. Randy, I'm gonna circle back to you in just a second. You and I are gonna talk about Aegon and his identity, because he's going through it too, just a bit here. But Sean, did you happen to notice some of the parallels that took place in this episode to the way that Tywin Lannister handled his appointment as Hand of the King in the original Game of Thrones series?
Usually I'm on top of these things, especially when it comes to Tywin. One of my favorite characters to quote, but I will admit, no, I did not. I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
Personally, the way I viewed it was Corlys felt like he was better served at sea, better served in a wartime scenario. And maybe that's because he's grieving. Maybe that's because he's looking for revenge against the Triarchy. So his motives may be a little bit different, but he felt like he was better served out serving as a warrior than serving at King's Landing. And that's basically what Tywin's perspective was when he got appointed as Hand of the King and decided to send Tyrion in his stead. Corlys is sending Alan for a very different reason, but he sends someone who is probably not suited for court, somebody who is at a disadvantage, and kind of thrusting them into a position of responsibility, serving in the hand's stead. And I was actually really impressed with the way that Alan handled himself, especially at the model of Old Valyria, that conversation. Um, but I thought it was really interesting because Tyrion says in a couple of instances that all dwarves are bastards in their father's eyes, and so Tywin probably sees Tyrion as a bastardization of a son, and Corlys sends his actual bastard to serve as hand in his stead. So that was the parallel that I took away from sending Alan, but I also feel like it was partially because she refused to legitimize him, and he's like, okay, you can refuse to legitimize him, you have that right, but now I'm going to send a bastard to sit on your council. So you either have to accept the fact that a bastard sits on your council, or you're going to have to accept the fact that you need to legitimize him. One way or the other, it's a very uncomfortable situation for Rhaenyra now.
I will say this much in regards to that, and it's we'll save some time for later, I guess. I thought Alan's scene with Rhaenyra was the best scene in the entire episode. I thought the chemistry between the two, and I don't think they've had too much. I don't know if they've been in a scene together at all, come to think of it. And if they have, it's not many. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was incredible. I thought the chemistry was there, and I thought the nods to Viserys were great. And looking back at Viserys and Corlys's relationship, and so points to Alan. Really good start.
Hey, and he suggested cats. Duh.
Yeah.
The most basic idea.
Right?
It's
I think they bonded over cats, truly.
and it's such a simple fix, but she looks at him like, why did I not think of that? Like, where have you been all this time that somebody just came up with that right then and there? That was really great. Randy, let's circle back to yours and my discussion point now. We've touched on pretty much everybody else's identity in this episode except for Aegon. He seems to really be struggling with the concept that he is a deposed king. He wants to be a ruler. He wants to be loved and adored. He does not want to be shoveling shit. And I don't blame him. But I think his identity crisis is the most obvious out of all of them, as he just continues to figure out how to strike that balance of surviving long enough to return a victorious conqueror.
Well, and that's half the battle right there for him. It's understanding, it's understanding that there's certain things you have to do to survive. And that's the part he's struggling with, because he's never had to do these things before. He's always been treated a very specific way, that he's seeing how the other half lives, something he's never wanted or cared to see. And now he's forced to live this way. And it's unfortunate that he wasn't raised differently, but when you think about how he was raised, it makes total sense that he's struggling with this so greatly. I will say I will give him his props, even though I know it's for more or less selfish reasons, but for him standing up and saying, especially when everybody needs food, even though he did it for himself mainly, but it's the fact that the way it was shot, the way it was set up, it made him look like he was doing it for others as well. And then, of course, basically being forced to kneel and being told to kiss someone's feet for taking a stand. It's a harsh lesson, but it's something that he obviously needed to learn. And I think in the long run, depending on where his character arc goes, I think this is actually going to serve to help him become a better person overall, which I think is good because we always need a character that we can get behind. And I feel like because we're seeing him start to go through this and there's a likability to it, like you can see him kind of start to put the pieces together, even if it's not obvious. There's that underdog story of, you've fallen so far that you're basically looking at from the ground up. And maybe there's a chance here he could ascend again, maybe not to the heights he once had, but that's the thing he's going to have to struggle with for as long as it takes to get to where he wants to be. I also found like the scene with the dragon, the dragon's body, to be pretty endearing and showing how much he truly cared. But of course, you're bringing attention to yourself because you're not understanding. You're incognito. You need to lay low. You don't want people to realize who you are. So with who he's paired with, it seems like a good combination of the logical side of things and just the sheer emotional, mental part of it all. And I'll be really curious to see in the end where he ultimately goes, to see if he can finally put the pieces together fully and have that light bulb moment where he just goes, aha, I got it now. And this is a really good start.
I'm glad you guys. Oh, sorry, Zach. You mentioned when you asked me if I seen the parallels with the Tywin, and I didn't, and it really frustrates me that I didn't. But the one thing I felt like I seen parallels with kind of all this season, but which came out a little bit more in this episode, were a parallel between Aegon and Jaime from Game of Thrones.
I can see that, especially with being at a physical disadvantage. Jaime losing his arm and Aegon with his deformity, and how you come back from that. I can definitely see that. Whoa, this is new. Where did I go? God damn, everybody else is on the panel. There we go. Okay, you touched on Aegon and his dragon, Randy, so I think this is as appropriate of a time as any to bring up this subject. We're going to try to keep it to a minute or less, and feel free to jump back and forth and call out somebody if you agree or disagree. But this is one of those questions that's been on the internet for the last 24 hours. Ryan, do you think Sunfire is still alive?
I do. I mean, again, I don't know the complexity of the time element from when this battle happened to how long he's was recovering versus how long he's been on the run, right? Are we talking days, weeks, months? I don't know the time frame. But what I do know is that damn dragon has not decomposed one bit. And I feel like if Sunfire was dead, we would have seen a little bit more decomposition in the body. Because even when we shifted scenes later in the episode, and we saw Melee's dragon clearly dead, clearly decomposing, not what I saw with Sunfire. So I think Sunfire's alive.
Sean, you're in the spotlight.
And I'm going to coward from that spotlight and just say, I am not touching this topic with a 2,000-foot pole.
Not a 39.5-foot pole, Mr. Grinch?
I really don't want to say anything, and I think you know why.
I do, but you can play the dumbass and just give a generic answer one way or the other.
No.
Okay. Dustin, do you think
was that
Sunfire
no to answering the generic question, or
you can draw that conclusion all on your own?
Maybe.
That should have been my answer right there. Maybe. Should have left it at maybe.
Too late. Randy?
So honestly, I don't know, but I'm leaning towards yes. And the only reason for that is seeing how other dragons react to their riders. Um, so, because they can obviously, as we saw at the end of the episode, we saw, you know, how Darren's dragon reacted to how he was feeling, which leads me to think it has to be almost vice versa to some degree, where the rider can kind of sense how the dragon is feeling. With that, with having Aegon say he's alive, and like I know he's alive, I can feel it. Like it tells me that there's a bond there that does go both ways. We've seen how intelligent and how emotional the dragons can get, but on the other side of it, you think about some of the interactions that, whether it be how Damon or uh, Aemond or Rhaenyra or any of the riders, how their dragons react to them.
Mhm.
This feels like it's leaning towards yes, but honestly, I don't know because I'm not familiar with the dragon's physiology in this particular universe.
The closest like equivalency that I can come up with would be like lizards that hibernate, you know, like when the weather gets too cold down in Florida and they start falling out of the trees and whatever, like they look dead, but they're just conserving their energy to an extreme degree until they are ready to reemerge. And I'm kind of leaning in the direction of Ryan's speculation. I think they wouldn't show those two dragons almost in consecutive scenes without some intentionality behind it. This is how one dragon looks after that battle. This is how the other dragon looks after this battle. And they both look drastically different. And so I do think there is some unspoken storytelling that may be at play there. But to what extent, I don't have a clue. So um, I do think they alluded to dragon and rider sensitivity in the final scene with Darren and his dragon, and how alert his dragon was to his rider's sensitivities and sensibilities. So I do agree that there is that bond there, but what I don't know is what, if any, continuation they're trying to make with Sunfire and Aegon. Is it a complete deviation? Is it a long winding road that leads back to where it's supposed to? Who knows? I guess time will tell. We're only halfway through the season, and we still got another season to go afterwards. So there's still a lot of thrones left to unfold. But part of what we do during this discussion is taking a look at Team Greens versus Team Blacks. We've kind of touched on some of the identities and some of the arcs and some of the pieces of storytelling that transpired in this episode. So now we have the big question that we got to ask: who, quote unquote, won the episode? Not necessarily winning the battle. I learned that from episode 1 on this on this season's discussion. There wasn't really much of a battle that took place. So who emotionally took home the gold? Who had the better episode? Was it Rhaenyra's camp, or was it Alicent's, Aegon's, Kristen Cole's, Ormond Hightower's camp? We'll go counterclockwise. Randy, you look like you're deep in thought. What's your take on who had the better episode?
This is definitely one of the harder ones I think we've had in the entire series, because there were so many different perspectives that we got. There were so many little points of interest that we're getting set up for the remainder of the season. And with that, there really wasn't the physical confrontation, the physical battle that we've always come accustomed to so far with this particular season. But as far, it's pretty evenly matched. There were victories on both sides. There were losses on both sides. But if I'm going to give it a slight lean, I'll say just based on how the episode ended, I'll give it to Team Green just because it seems like Orman has a plan and he's ready to set it in motion. Whereas when it comes to Rhaenyra's side of things, there's a lot of emotional stuff going on, and I think Rhaenyra doesn't have an overall plan just yet. I think she's still grasping at straws, trying to get her side in order before she truly acts out. And because if that was the case, she would have already sent people to Humberton, and it just didn't happen. So I'm going to give it to Team Green just because it feels like they're a little more in line with what they need to do. And Orman seems to be intelligent enough that he has a plan and he's acting it out already.
Dustin, who wins the episode for you, green or black?
I think Team Green. If you think about, they had some news that hit them, right? They were like, okay, a lot of them didn't even know Rhaenyra had the Iron Throne. And then they were thinking, okay, where's, how am I forgetting? What's his name? The one that was
Aemond?
stabbed in the last episode. Aemond and Vagar, like they're like, oh, they're gone. So they had those like emotional like shit. Well, that sucks, but they put some stuff together, especially with Orman putting stuff together. As far as okay, this is what we're gonna do, and trying to insert, more of a high tower rule, like more of that under the seven, right? So I think, as Randy said, they're putting a plan together and enacting it, where I think Rhaenyra's team Black, they had a couple victories, but they also did a lot of stuff that was detrimental to their cause. So I feel like, they kind of put themselves in a worse position, where you could say Team Green in this episode kind of came out ahead as far as in the strategy front. So that's why I would say that they win the episode.
Sean, how about you?
Consensus so far, man. I thought this was a rare Team Green win.
Ryan?
Yeah, I got a couple points I want to touch on, and I am firmly in the Team Green won this episode camp, for a couple of reasons. For me, I'm going to start with Team Black and Rhaenyra specifically. I felt like there was some real dissension in the ranks. We obviously saw what happened with Corlys. He got butthurt, and rightfully so, mind you, last week when his children were not, they were not given their name. And he basically said, you know what, I don't want to deal with this. I'm going to go fight a real war and do something where I'm productive. And he just kind of dipped out. And then even with Daemon, right, bringing the head back of we haven't talked about this. He brought the head back of what I'm assuming is the sheep farmer, in order to protect his daughter, Rhaenys. And we, in that moment, we saw Rhaenyra get very angry with him. It's, she wanted to serve the justice to the person that killed Jace, and she didn't get that opportunity. And we now know that Daemon basically lied to her face in protecting his daughter. So there were some things there that I think we're really starting to see some cracks form. And also, we also haven't touched on this: the Queen of the Bastards graffiti, right? Dustin touched on this in his entry. Where what is Rhaenyra trying to do? She's trying to win over the populace and she needs to distribute the money, right?
Mhm.
Well, the populace is now getting frustrated with her, and I think some of the feelings are starting to shift in a negative light. So a lot of negative things for Team Black. Whereas vice versa with Aegon specifically, I thought we were seeing maybe an entire shift in the way the show was shooting. We've kind of seen it from Rhaenyra's perspective through the first 2.5 seasons, but this episode I felt very sympathetic for Aegon and his struggle, and obviously the emotional scene he had with Sunfire and how he was trying to navigate his own issues. And we kind of saw him bend the knee in a light that we haven't seen before. He seemed more sympathetic. So it just felt like a whole seismic shift occurred in this episode to where now we might be seeing more Team Green positivity versus Rhaenyra's spiral out of control. So this was a very cementedly green episode for me.
I think what's been interesting is every time Rhaenyra suffers a loss, she becomes a little bit more sympathetic, because most of the time it's a child. She has, a miscarriage. Her 2 boys are killed in battle or what have you. And every time that happens, we start to feel badly for, the one who is supposed to be the rightful heir. And then she asks the gold cloaks to weed out this person that's writing Queen of Bastards on the walls. And the whole episode, and even the past episode, she's trying to get on good terms with the common folk, and then the gold cloaks go and do that shit in her name, and it just sends some very mixed messages. And then the message of telling Ulf that he's not allowed to go to taverns anymore. I mean, that's like telling some people you can't breathe anymore. Like that's a part of his livelihood. That's a part of his escapism, part of his life, part of his connections to family and friends and what have you. So to get these types of messages, and then to also get the message that she cannot legitimize bastards at the moment. She's not currying any favors. She's not winning any friends right now. And yeah, I think that makes the Greens a little more sympathetic for all intents and purposes. That we start feeling badly for Aegon now, and we start feeling badly for Helena when we find out that she's expecting, and it's like, oh well, her life and her baby's life are hanging in the balance now. And then Ormond and his manipulation, his scheming, his planning, the way that he executes justice. um it's it's very much a Team Green episode. Pretty rare that all of us are in accord and able to create a clean sweep, but I think this episode is pretty solidly in the Greens' favor and in the Greens' camp this week. Um, there were some pretty important scenes. We're getting a little crunched on time, so if your favorite character is in your favorite scene, please try to combine them into one. If not, we can still touch on those things as well. Um, I think Ormond was my favorite character, and the scene in the courtyard was one of my favorites. The way that he dispels justice on his own soldier, and it seems like he's appeased the common folk with his justice, and then we find out later that that's not 100% the case. Um, he may be my favorite character, but my favorite scene is in the Vale with Damon and Rhaena. That is quite possibly the one of the most Game of Thrones scenes in the entire series to me. The emotional turmoil, the payoff of so many different conversations and moments, and the just the way that it's acted. I mean, Matt Smith delivers just a great performance, and we get to see a little bit more characterization of the dragons. We see Caraxes kind of acting up a little bit, and how does Damon deal with that, and what does it lead to? And uh, that whole scene in the cave about the forgotten daughter, and this is my life now. I'll choose to live in exile so that I don't have to return. Like, this is my penance. Um, we know that that's probably not how it's going to go, but the fact that Reina has kind of resigned herself to this and says, "I've never asked you for anything. I ask this of you now." Um, so so poignant, so powerful, so well done, so well acted. The both of them just had a great moment to shine, and I think they took full advantage of it. So Orman's favorite character, the scene in the cave, favorite scene. Um, Ryan, how about you?
Yeah, I think for me it was Aegon, and I was at Tom Smith Carney. Is that the actor's name there?
I
Um,
think it's Glenn Carney.
Glenn Carney. Sorry, yeah. Just I thought he got to really excel in this episode and stretch his acting chops, and I really felt emotionally connected to him in the moment when he was trying to will Sunfire back to life, and I really felt as we moved forward, and he had to then become a common folk, and watching the struggle internally to not overstep the bounds that Larry's was trying to set for him, and like, you got to stay quiet, he was struggling with that. So I really felt that was my favorite scene as well. I mean, having to kiss the boot of some nobody with literal human shit on their shoe is like the absolute lowest point I think any human could get to, let alone a king, not 6 weeks prior, to reach that point, right? That was an incredible character arc to get to there, and I really feel like it's going to make him a better, I won't say better person, he's still an asshole, but I think we're going to see a better version of him going forward, and we'll see how that plays out in the future. But I think just that entire arc in this episode home for me. So favorite scene, favorite character.
Sean, you mentioned that Alan with Rhaenyra at the model of Valyria was your favorite scene. Was your favorite character in there as well?
No, no, it wasn't. I'm with Ryan on this one. I thought Aegon was the best betrayed character in this episode, whether you like him or not. Tom Glenn Carney, just man, he's been honestly incredible through the whole show, dating back to his coronation in that season one. Like that guy can act and is not getting enough attention. So yeah, to Dustin's great displeasure, Aegon.
Yeah, Dustin's been writing us privately with some very deliberate thoughts about Aegon, but
He's saying death to Aegon.
Yeah, fuck him.
Death to the usurper. So who was your favorite character, and what was your favorite scene then, Dustin?
I definitely think, man, I went back and forth on this, but I think Ormond Hightower was my favorite character. The fact that he finally got to have some stuff to actually, get into, and that, okay, he's not just this generic person that's in, the Green Army. He's actually planning something pretty big. He has some ideas, and he's setting himself up to be kind of one of the big bads. So, or big goods, depending on your perspective. Who is he, a good guy? Is he a bad guy? I think my favorite scene, this is gonna probably, I love the stuff at Harrenhal. As the Green Army is going up to it, and as they're going up, and they just see ash and like charred remains of horses, people. You can't really even tell. You see what's happened there, and you're just like, man, Harrenhal has had such horrible, horrible things happen to it. And when they go into it, I just love the scenes where they're kind of walking around in that otherworldly feel that Harrenhal has. And Sir Kristen's like walking through, and they're all like looking around, and they're hearing stuff, and I just kind of love that the set design and the sound design that they use, and kind of that it's haunted or there's other stuff that's going on, and the one witch shows up, what's her name, saying like, nope, that person's dead, and the person to replace him is also dead, and that person's also dead, so here I am. And then, you know, it kind of intrigued, like the fact that she didn't bring up what was happening uh, with we know who, and it started to pique my interest of like, what is she doing to him? What is the whole plan with him? So I enjoyed that scene. It was kind of just a random scene, but I enjoyed that aspect of that scene, just the set design and the sound, and just seeing some of the lead up to it of what has happened there due to Vagar.
Yeah, it's pretty rare that a pretty leading character doesn't have any screen time, but we basically had no Aemond in this entire episode. We don't know what's going on with him. We don't know what's up. We don't know where Vagar is. And yet the episode still had a lot of stories to tell. Probably bounced around between storylines more than any episode of House of the Dragon thus far. And that was an important one for those characters, especially for Alice. Declaring herself the steward just because there's literally nobody else left. She kind of gets the castle by default almost to a certain extent. So kind of got what she wanted anyways.
Yeah, and seeing the stuff she pulled with Rhaenyra or with Daemon, saying like, hey, you're going to regret this kind of stuff. And like, okay, what is she, like, what kind of crap? We've seen the witchcrafty stuff, right? Or the stuff that can happen. So what is she doing to him? Are they going to kind of go in a weird direction with that? So that had me intrigued. And the fact they didn't bring it up was like, okay, this is where I was most interested in. So that's why it's my favorite scene.
For sure. For sure. Final thoughts and scores out of 10 coming up right after Randy's favorite character and favorite scene.
So, my favorite scene is the same as yours, Zach. That the whole setup of having Caraxes act strange and Daemon not understanding what's going on, doing everything he can to calm him down, and then next thing you know, they're at this cave where I have to feel that either Caraxes sensed Rhaena or the wildness of Sheep Stealer. One of the two. It had to have been something, and I'm gonna, my intuition is pointing to he sensed Rhaena. And to have that scene, to have that emotional scene, something that I was not expecting ever out of Daemon. It was it caught me off guard. And I was like, wow, you really do have a heart. You aren't just a selfish prick who loves to fight. But that whole scene, the way it broke down, and just the acting between both actors, it was done so well, and it sets up an interesting precedent for the future episodes, whether it be sometime in season 3 or season 4, because we've seen the aftermath of that where Daemon shows up with a severed head, but in all of that, my favorite character in the episode was Daemon, just because I finally got to see different sides to him. I liked the arrogant prick where he's just getting gold, but then to instantly switch over to caring father, and then return home and try to play off being a triumphant warrior, bringing a criminal to justice, even though Rhaenyra sees right through the bullshit. Like, we just got to see that little bit of a roller coaster with Daemon, and for me, that's why he was my favorite character of the episode.
He solves the problem a little bit differently than he would in the first season or even the second season. Usually he's a fight first, think and ask questions later. And in this one, he was able to like actually ask questions. He was able to talk it through and then tried to come up with some alternative solution that's intended to keep the peace and keep everybody happy. Definitely a new approach for him. So, great example of his growth, which was something we talked about earlier in the episode. But there's a lot more stuff to talk about here on this pod, stuff that doesn't involve me. So my my time is coming to a close here. Um, I'll just say this episode was solid. It was enjoyable for the character development and the intrigue and the buildup. Um, Tonight really helped me realize just how many different pieces of the puzzle are being laid and how much payoff there's going to be for all of these characters when the time comes. Everything from the way that Rhaenyra handles problems to Damon now knowing the secret of Sheep Stealer to, Aegon and Larys's development at Rook's Rest to what Ormond is scheming over at Tumbleton. Like everything is going to build up and pay off. And I can see some of the potential things in the works and look forward to them potentially paying off. But as far as the pacing goes, as far as the quality goes, this is not the highest quality episode of the season. So I'm probably leaning around an 8.25. I don't think it's quite to an 8.5 caliber, but I don't think it's deserving of a 7.7 or whatever IMDb has for it right now. So slightly higher than that, but definitely not the best we've had all season. We'll go clockwise. Ryan, final thoughts and score for this episode.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with your thought in general with this episode. This was a necessary episode, right? This was the most Game of Thrones episode of the season. We came off with such a high with episodes 1 and 2, and even to some extent 3. There was no way they were going to be able to maintain that level of intensity, that level of quality throughout all 8. I wasn't expecting it as at the halfway point of the season. This was a perfect cooler, in my opinion, to bring us back down a bit, kind of reset, reestablish the storylines going forward. I think we closed a lot of chapters over the last few episodes. We needed to build up some new storylines. So I think this was an excellent episode in doing that. And I like these episodes as much as everybody gets enthralled with the battle scenes and the gore and the dragons and all that. These slower paced political episodes are actually some of my favorites. So really digging into everyone's kind of perspective and POV and how they're trying to manipulate in their own favor, I found very intriguing. But that said, I do think if on a scoring scale, it was probably, I'm going to give it the lowest score of the season from my perspective. I gave the first episode an 8.0. So for me, I think this episode comes in a little bit below that. I'm going to give it a 7.9.
Just barely below, but still solid. Sean, you are up.
Yeah, I thought it was a solid episode. I didn't think it was the best episode. I try my best to stick to like our Flixbusters way of calculating scores as much as I can, even if I don't map it out. And for me, I'm giving this episode a 7.25.
Was there one element of the Flixbusters style that scored lower than another?
I would say, in terms of what you look at, what the first 3 episodes did this season, the sound design, the score, and the cinematography were all significantly down from the first 3 episodes.
Interesting. Okay, Dustin, it's to you.
Yeah, good episode. I think it needed to happen to set up the next 4 episodes to hopefully ramp up. We've talked a lot. I was sitting at a like 7 point. I bump it up to an 8. That's my score is an 8. I was looking 7.8, but I just said I'll round up 8. It sounds fine.
Yeah, it was okay. I'll give it a letter B. Was that? It's been so long since I've been in grade school. 80 and 80 to the 88, 89 is traditionally a B, right?
Yes.
Okay. So a lower end of a B, but still a B.
If you get a 79, you get a B minus.
Okay. My wife's going back to school, and I I am not jealous of her. I've been out of school for 5 or 6 years, and I have no desire to go back. I don't need that stress in my life. Randy, take us home.
So, yeah, this is definitely, out of the first 4 episodes, is definitely going to score the lowest. My reasoning behind the score is basically we came to a screeching halt in some respects, not as far as setting up the rest of the season, but just the pacing and how slow certain things felt. Like I didn't have that emotional high that I've gotten from the past 3 episodes, because obviously last episode we had that sense of stress and anxiety, and it just kept building and building and building. And then of course we've had the first 2 episodes where it's lots of action, lots of just absolute mind-blowing stuff. We get to this episode and everything just kind of slows down to that snail's pace, but things like this need to happen because as it's been said before, we're building something here. We're setting things up so that once we hit the ground running with the second half, we're going to get that pacing back up. We're going to get that energy back up. And so while this is a good episode, it's a good character episode, it's still, for me, just, I like to have that emotional gravitas to it, and it just didn't have it for me, which is why I'm going to echo Sean's score of a 7.25.
So 7.25. I'm trying to do the math in my head and I cannot, so I gotta get out the old phone calculator. 7.25. Nope.
Last
Plus
week,
8.
for the 3 people that were on the show, it was 8.5 for episode 3, all 3 people.
Interesting. So a couple of 7.25s, an overall solid 8.25. Ryan, what was yours again?
7.9.
7.9. 38.65 out of a possible 50 points. 77.3%. We just calculated the fucking IMDb score.
There you go.
We do that a little bit too often, to be perfectly honest.
Oh man, I needed that chuckle. Thank you, gents. That was the way that came full
That's
circle.
quite funny.
The way that came full circle, I was like, it was a 7.7 over there on this thing, but I don't know if that's what it's going to be. No, that's exactly what it fucking is.
Well, to everyone listening at home, whether you're watching live or here with us afterwards, it's time to bid au revoir to a couple of our guests this evening. First up, Zach, I know how hard the loss of Sam Neill hit. I remember when the world lost Chester Bennington. That was probably still the celebrity death that hit me the most. But thoughts are with you and all the Sam Neill, Dr. Alan Grant fans, and Jurassic Park fans out there. Hope you have a good week, man. And where can everybody find you at?
Yeah. Thank you, dude. I don't know if people know this about me, but I actually cosplay as Dr. Grant at Comic Con sometimes. I've got his 1993 outfit with the denim shirt, the fedora, the boots and the pants, and I even found like a raptor claw bottle opener that passes inspection at some of the Comic Con events. It's not too sharp. It's got kind of a dull point because it's just a bottle opener. And so I really, really enjoy getting addressed as Dr. Grant at those events. And the next one I go to is just going to mean that much more. He was one of those people that I really hoped to meet one day. I got to interview like world champions and Olympic athletes when I was in college because we had access to players like that, and it really helped me become kind of less starstruck. I just saw them as regular people because I kind of saw how they were, when they weren't out there performing at their very best. And so I don't really feel pressured to get people's autographs that much anymore. I don't feel pressured to like pay for a picture with somebody anymore. But if I had had the opportunity to, bid at a charity auction for like a dinner with Sam Neill or something, I would have spent so much money on that because that was one person that I wish I could have spent a little bit of time with. So yeah, please consider giving me a follow at Zach the Voice, Zach the Voice. Football season starts in about a month, and so we're going to be hitting the ground running with some local broadcasts, and I'm looking forward to that. So until then, I'm just here.
Well, we appreciate it, and we appreciate you, man. Ryan, thanks for doing this tonight, man. It's been a pleasure. We're already halfway through the season. Where can everybody find you at, buddy?
Yeah, thanks for having me once again. Listen, I really love coming on and doing this show, and this has been a true passion for me to be here, and I'm happy to continue to do this. So thank you for that. Outside of that, you can find me, as you can see all behind me with all of my racing stuff. Very big into the NASCAR scene. You and I do our Ramming is Racing podcast when we can. We're on X at Ramming is Racing as well. Or my personal X, which is Yacht Racing 45. So just give me a follow over on any of those socials. Otherwise, right here as well. We love doing House of the Dragon.
Well, thanks for coming out, boys, and can't wait till next week. One too many. Almost got rid of myself.
I was about to say, wait a minute. Is there something I don't know that's about to happen?
So we got a few topics to apologies, guys. So I don't know how it's written in the notes, but we gotta go a certain way here to be able to do this the way I want to do it. And here's what we're going to start with. We're going to start with Crystal Lake. This is an interesting one. This is a conversation I did not expect to have tonight. And the other two guys on the panel, I don't believe know where I'm going with this. They know that there was a very brief teaser that came up today, but I had a short conversation with a source of ours who was all over the Crystal Lake images. What was it, like a year ago now when they were first dropping? So let's dive into it. Let's start here. I'm assuming you two took the time to at least watch the teaser. Randy, I'll start with you. What were your thoughts?
Well, first off, it's definitely the epitome of a teaser. I mean, less than a minute. That was crazy. But I dug it. I liked what I saw, even though it was super brief. I'm gonna be really curious to see exactly where they go with this, just because if you're a Friday the 13th fan, you know the story. But now we get to see these images of things that supposedly happened prior to the original movie, and I'm just kind of sitting here, kind of going, okay, this is wild. She can't be like insanely right off the rip killer. So I mean, like I said, it's the epitome of a teaser. It wet the whistle, and I'm just like, I got to see more. This is crazy. I need to see more. I need context for the images that we saw.
Dustin, your thoughts on the very brief teaser?
My initial thought was, I mean, I dug it. I thought it looked great. I thought, okay, this feels like, it felt like it's a period piece that seems like it's doing it right. I didn't feel like it looked cheap. It looked good. And seeing some of the, quick cuts and stuff like that, I was kind of like, even like the shot of the hand with the machete, I was like, this feels like, the original Friday the 13th, that this story could take place beforehand. And it has me excited. I'm, really intrigued to see this show now. And that was just a teaser. So once a full trailer comes out, we'll see how I feel. But I kind of like the pace of this one, just kind of frantic, and it has me excited. And that's a good thing.
Oh man, you guys, you're making me feel bad. All right, so I've been pretty outspoken at times, not in a bad way, but about what we were told this series is about and the tone of it and the genre. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I feel like I'm reliving Halloween Ends here, fellas. Poor Randy. Randy's head's already moving.
Well, no, let's be honest. The teaser didn't do it any favors. It made it look like a straight up slasher film. Like that's what we're getting. So I get that part.
Yeah, that's what the teaser made it look like, and I'm here to reiterate to everybody that is not what this show is. So to have that be your first piece of video footage, go out there and it be, there's really no other way to put it than misleading. That's not to say, hey, the stuff you've seen doesn't happen. It does. But the way that teaser is edited together is misleading to what at least I've been told, and I have no reason to doubt the source, the show actually is. The show comes across more like a suspenseful mystery thriller than a slasher. And I don't know about you guys, the teaser doesn't give that away. And before you guys chime in here, there's an official piece of news. Well, I shouldn't say official, even though John Squires is about as official as it gets. This series was supposed to be a weekly show. This series is no longer a weekly show. They're now going to drop all 8 episodes on October the 15th, which is a drastic change to what was originally going on. I would like to think if there was confidence in it, they would be dropping it weekly to build up conversation, i.e. Welcome to Derry. And I would like to think they would have shown off more, considering they've held off so long, in terms of the first video footage. And then to top things off, Jeff Snyder came out and said today on X, look, I'm hearing some not good things. And I got to tell you, I'm a Friday the 13th fan, and we all know what I thought of fucking Peach Vanilla Fuzz or whatever the fuck that thing was last year. I've been really looking forward to this, and I like the sounds of a mystery thriller, frankly, with a different tone. But all this spells very, very not good news.
Yeah, well, now I'm less excited.
They're gonna Netflix this bitch.
my initial thing was like, okay, with knowing they're dropping all 8, that's a big indicator for me that, again, it's kind of like with the video game world with the review embargoes, right? You always kind of get that idea when there's confidence in a product. They're like, hey, we want people to know how good this is and talk about it. And you always see
Not to mention, dude, Randy just mentioned the Netflix thing, and to follow up what you're saying, think about it. This show starts on October the 15th, okay, and ends on October the 15th now.
Yeah.
They are giving up the window to be dropping
Perfect
a
window.
new episode literally right before Halloween. And they're just like, yeah, no.
Yeah, and that is a big indicator to me. It could be that spells more. And I was thinking, okay, why would this, because what we've seen was kind of this slow burn, like you said, and I thought, okay, are they just trying to say, are they either two things? They're trying to pivot and say like, okay, hey, this is, if there is rumblings that it's not good, we got to get people hooked, maybe the reception to some of the stuff that is the psychological slow burn kind of mystery is not good. And then they were like, well, let's just try to cram all of the action slasher stuff in it right away, to get people excited. Or they're thinking people aren't going to understand if it's related to Friday the 13th without some kind of element of the slasher element to it, right? So kind of like, that was your first look at it, like, okay, and then they would slowly peel back the layers and you see it's not just that, but maybe it is that, and they were just trying to pivot, and now they're like, okay, let's get people hooked, and then we'll just drop it all and see what happens.
So for us, obviously, we've known about this for a couple of years. We've had the updates and kept tabs on it. So once I saw the teaser, I actually shared it with one of my friends, and he's like, "I had no clue this was coming out. I actually think I'm gonna re-up my Peacock just so I can watch this." So if that is their, and obviously that he could be just an outlier, but if that is, say that there's other people that are feeling similarly to that, then maybe that's exactly what they're going for, trying to get their subscriptions up or getting people to resubscribe and just to watch this. And maybe that's you're looking at the fan base that just enjoys the slashers. If that's the case, if that's what they're doing, then maybe they will be successful in that respect. Doesn't mean it's going to be world class, Welcome to Derry, or anything like that. Ultimately, obviously, we're going to watch it. I will still enjoy it for what it is, even if it is bad. But I mean, let's be honest. What Friday the 13th property is really good? There's only a couple movies that are actually really good, and then the rest are just like, yeah, same shit, different day. But I still enjoy them. So let's just hope that this is just an outlier, that the actual full trailer that we get, whenever we get it, gives us a little more of the suspenseful thriller, whodunit thriller, and less of, hack and slash.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's just studio heads that have read the situation wrong. They'll look back at it and go, "Man, we should have had this as a weekly release." But I'm someone who also really believes in the stuff that Jeff Snyder has to say, and
Yeah, that was another
that,
big indicator for me too.
And then that teaser being a completely different tone than what the show really is. The red flags are up, and that Sweet Vanilla, right? I always forget the name of it. Whatever the thing was that came out last year, that little
Sweet
15-minute
Revenge.
thing, Sweet Revenge, um, Sweet Vanilla Revenge, um, was pretty downright terrible.
At least the boat
And
propeller kill scene was cool.
and if Crystal Lake is a miss, on top of that thing being a miss, maybe, just maybe, I'm going to take the glass half full approach here. Is instead of the Friday the 13th franchise being doomed for another 15, 16, 17 years of nothing, maybe, just maybe, it will lead to some much needed change. Again, I'm going to hold out hope that I like Crystal Lake, but boy, that is a radical shift only a few months away from release.
Yeah, and that
Go ahead.
idea, real quick, my last thought on that with Randy talking about like get your subscriptions up. Well, just create a new email and get a 7-day free trial and watch it in a couple days. And so there's you don't even can, if people are smart, then get around that. If you do it episodic, where it's like, oh man, it's going to be over a month, I can't, or a month and a half, I need to have a subscription. So at least you get that 1 month's revenue of a subscription base, even if it jumps up 5%, that revenue you bring in is just downright completely, there's an end around for it. So yeah, not great. I guess we'll have to see.
It certainly feels like they waved the white flag months from release. Hope I'm wrong on that, but we'll see. Hopefully, I just like what they don't as a fan. But I've said it before. I said it with The Mandalorian and Grogu. Regardless of how you feel about a film or a show, personally, you should still want it to be successful if you ever want to get more. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens. Elm Street. There has been a deal struck with Paramount to do another movie, or at least a first look at a new script for a new movie. I do find this somewhat interesting because Paramount is rumored to possibly be doing the Halloween 50th anniversary movie. So, and Paramount has a long-lasting connection to Friday the 13th. Now, does that mean anything today? Not necessarily, but it's certainly curious. Look, I'm not a big Elm Street guy. Like, it's way down my list of franchises. It just is. But for Elm Street fans, I'm excited because this is a step in the right direction to get him something new. Thoughts, fellas?
So I love the first two Elm Street movies, the original. I like 2. 2 is great. It grew on me. It was one of those kind of weird ones, but it's grown to love it. Some of the other ones, like Dream Warriors and stuff like that. I've always liked the Elm Street series. Excuse me, Robert Englund especially, and I'm even like as bad as the Jackie Earl Haley version was. It wasn't as bad as people make it. I personally, that's one of my guilty pleasure ones. I don't mind that movie so much. As far as I understood, they got the rights to the original script. So, and I was reading something that they were saying that it's going to go in a different directions or like different genre. So that's what kind of made me interested. Like, okay, what does that mean? And who it's going to come down to a lot of like who they're going to get to play Freddy, and just my own personal. And I'll let Randy go, is my own personal choice that I've wanted to see forever. I think would play an amazing Freddy is Kevin Bacon. I need to see it. I would love to see it. It's definitely interesting to see that they're going to make a new movie. How long it takes, we'll see. But yeah, I want to see more details about what the structure is and what they're planning.
So it's definitely probably higher up on my list for 80s slasher movies because that's just, I mean, that's where I grew up. That's the stuff my dad had me watching at like 7, 8 years old, whether it be Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Child's Play, all that stuff. Um, the remake, uh, I felt Jackie Earle Haley did the best he could with what he had, even if it was practically a shot for shot, just remake that was with some extra stuff that just didn't really hit. The first, I would say 1 and 3 are definitely up there for me. 2 is okay. Once they got to like 4, 5, and 6, I was just like, okay, what the hell's happening here? But then my favorite, my favorite Nightmare movie, New Nightmare came out, and I felt like that's what Freddy should have been all along. Based on everything out of seeing all the movies, New Nightmare to me felt like the most realistic version of what Freddy Krueger should have been all at period. But that's my opinion. I absolutely love that movie, and I always watch it at least 2 or 3 times a year. If we can get a new Nightmare film that focuses on that psychological horror and makes Freddy feel menacing, not just slapsticky like we got near the end, because that's just how it was portrayed. I feel like that could be a really good direction to take, given how serious some horror franchises have started to trend, or in just horror in general. Um, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens, how long it takes, who they cast. Not gonna lie, Dustin, I was thinking Kevin Bacon before you even said his name, because you're like, that's what I wanted. I'm like, yeah, I see that online all the time, and I get behind Kevin Bacon being Freddy. I think that'd be a real fun actor to be able to pull that off. Um, but at this point, since we're in the early stages, it's more or less going to be wait and see. Let's see who they get. If they can get a script written and approved, see who they can get hired on as a director. Uh, Once we get to that point and it feels like it's going forward, I'll be a little more optimistic and and ready to see where they go with it. But for now, I think it's great that there's a potential for a new movie. It's been far too long. And, obviously that remake did some real irreparable damage that has really put the franchise probably straight to hell for the longest time. So it's good news. It's good all around news that we're getting some classic horror stuff out there, that some of the classics that used to set the standard are now getting a chance to come back for a new generation.
Yeah, and I agree, Randy. I want to see a more serious, like, Freddy from number one, where it was like actually menacing, terrifying, and had a little bit of humor, like dark humor to it, but not like slapstick, what we saw in Freddy versus Jason, like, hey, asshole, or, just doing some silly stuff like with a power glove. Now you're playing with power, it got so, yeah, I think it has such great potential to go to some of that real deep horror roots again, which would be awesome. I hope they go that route and not try to do the slapstick stuff.
Thinking
Sean, if you fell asleep, man, he's gonna get you.
Far from sleep, mute monster. Yes. Yeah, I've said it once, I'll say it again. And I didn't think the Nightmare on Elm Street remake was all that bad. I know that's blasphemy for a lot of people.
You should send a message to Johnny and ask him if his ear is twitching after hearing that.
Hearing two people speak somewhat positively about that movie.
Yeah. Poor Johnny. I remember that night. It was like watching someone's heartbreak in theater. which, hey, I'm no stranger to. Maybe I was a little bit of a stranger to it back then. When did it come out? Like 2010 or something like that.
Yeah, because it was the one right after Friday the 13th.
Yep.
Yeah,
Which I also liked.
Oh, I love
that's
that.
my
I love
favorite.
that movie.
It's my favorite Friday film. Yeah, I don't look. It's uphill battle no matter what way they go with this, right? Like you can do something close to your favorite Elm Street film, and maybe that gets it off the ground for you. But they face the uphill battle, and honestly, the fans are partially to blame for this. Of well, it's not Robert Englund, right? And I got to be honest, fellas, I don't think it'll be Kevin Bacon either.
No.
Well,
maybe. He's
if Kevin Bacon really wants to do it, and do it probably for less money than he thinks, then I, I
he's doing
think
car
there's-
commercials now, so I think maybe maybe the asking price has come down on the Kevin Bacon.
I mean, commercials pay well.
It's true.
But I don't even know if Kevin Bacon's the right pick at this point. Like, I think the right pick might be to go with not necessarily an unknown that nobody had. Like, you don't go cast someone in their first film ever, but maybe someone who just isn't a star, someone who is a supporting actor who, um, you know, maybe has shown a little bit of potential. And then that way, it's not, Kevin Bacon, or it would never be this, but Leonardo DiCaprio or Tom Hardy, or no one super, super well known. You do a long casting process, and that's the whole point of a casting call, right? Like, some casting calls take up to a year, right? In some cases, more. And I know that slows down the production timeline for a movie, but don't you want to get it right? Like, it's unfortunate because I don't think Jackie Earle Haley did a damn thing wrong.
Yeah, he didn't.
I don't. I thought he was
This is the material.
perfectly acceptable in the role. I thought he, kind of like we were talking about Sam Neill, I thought he elevated a relatively not good movie. But that's just how I feel.
No, I agree with you. That's what I said. I feel like he did the best he could with what he had, and just what he had wasn't great. And that's half the battle with any movie. You could have top tier actors, but if you've got a shit script and a shit director, you're going to only do so well. But the same can be said for, you could have a great director and a really good script. You could take someone who's not a great actor and actually end up still having a decent movie because you have at least two of the three that require, actually helps make a good movie.
Yeah. Jackie Earle Haley was great in the role, and his performance, his body movements, his voice. It's just the writing. He didn't write the movie. He was like, "This is what you're going to do and say," and they chose to kind of rip off from direct lines directly from the original movie, and so it kind of came off cheap. But him in the scenes, I even like the look of him, how he actually looked like a burn victim again. So yeah, I think that movie gets some undue hate, but anything wrong with that movie, I don't think is at all Jackie Earle Haley's doing. But yes, finding the right Freddy is going to be a critical thing, and I think maybe having an unknown actor or someone who's less known would help the movie a little bit versus having a big name actor that puts undue. Yeah, it could go either way on that. People are going to say Dave McRae. I'm going to say no. I'm sure Dave is doing other stuff, but
I'm fairly certain Dave would jump at every opportunity in the
Oh, for
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
world to do
For
it.
sure.
But let's be honest, that's not happening. Let's not put that out there. With all due respect to Dave, I'm sorry, it isn't happening, and I think Dave knows it's not happening.
Yeah, he
All
did
right,
the
let's.
fan film.
Yeah, Dylan's New Nightmare. Yeah. All right, let's dive into this while we have some time. Halloween. The game comes out September the 6th. The physical edition October the 6th. I got to look at that collector's edition, and I said to myself, fuck, I actually quite like this. And then I seen the statue, and I was like, double fuck, that looks really good. And then I seen the collector's case, and I'm like, oh my god, you guys are killing me. And then I seen it's sold out most places already, and I'm like, oh, what the hell? So many years ago, there's still a video game store in my hometown, which is like an hour and a half from where I live now, called Games, G.A.M.E.S. That's the store name. And they have a bunch of retro shit there, and they're one place that usually gets collector's editions in. And it's actually the only way I was able to get my Star Wars The Old Republic collector's edition like 14 years ago now. Wasn't for them, I wouldn't have it.
Real quick, Sean, can I go on a quick rant?
Yeah, please.
I will try to make it very quick. The collector's edition pisses me off. I'm sorry. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go there. I usually try to stay somewhat positive, but you're gonna tell me $150 when the base game is $40. And yes, the statue is cool, but you're gonna tell me that an 8-inch statue and a base game that is $40, a poster, there's like a lithographic card. The skins are cool. I'll give you that. The Sam Hain and the clown skins are cool. $150 for, you're telling me I could buy the game almost 4 times for the price I'm going to get for the collector's edition. And then I like that and I think it's selling out. And there's hardcore fans that are willing to shovel out that kind of money for it. And by all means, if you want to do that, absolutely do that, and you should. I did take that very personally, because I sat there and said, unless this edition comes with another 8-inch statue, which is of John Carpenter himself sitting on a couch, one hand holding an Xbox controller and the other hand flipping me off, this does not have the value for me.
That is oddly specific.
Yeah, I sat
I was
there
going
and
to say,
thought
I'd probably throw that fucking thing in my fire pit. I have no use for something like that.
And then I said, okay. And then I liked how it added the caveats. More things to come. What is more things? Come on. Like, and then there was people up in arms that I did agree with. They were like, wait, we can do the Michael jump, the shape jump statue, but you don't get the shape jump skin in the game. So, that's it. End of rant. I just think it's overpriced, and I think they were trying to take advantage of hardcore fans, and it seems like if it's selling out, then it's working, and I'm in the minority and all, and that's it.
So the only reason I would even think they're doing it for that much is given what Sony itself is doing away with physical media. These types of collector's items actually are going to probably be worth more, just because it's a dying thing now. Its days are numbered. So, but also you might actually get the season pass as part of it as well. So that usually $30-$40 by itself to get all the maps and all the skins or whatever that comes with it. So if that is the case, and that's why they say more to come, maybe there is a season pass, and that is something you'll get with it. I agree.
I agree 100% that the price benefit would be there, but like saying, hey, pre-order this and we're not going to tell you just yet. It's kind of like, hey, if you have the money to throw at it, like I even considered it because it looked cool, but I would like to know what I'm actually going to get before they say, oh yeah, by the way, you get a bag of pumpkin seeds. You're welcome.
Can you guys hear me okay? I had to switch devices.
Yeah.
I
Yep,
apologize
I can
for
hear
the
you.
fan in the background. I will try to talk over it.
You're good.
I think when you look at it, right, you get the collector's case. Now it's not a steel case, but it's still a collector's case. There's some value on that. Now you get the statue, which is from. Sure, I swear to God, no one's peeing in the background. It's my doggy who's on his last legs getting some water. The statue. If you go look at what statues or things like that cost from Trick or Treat Studios, it's a pretty penny. It's not cheap. It's not $20. It's not $30. And I actually really like the look of the statue. I do find the poster that they're giving you really weird. I hope there's a change in that. I hope it's a different poster. Frankly, I'd just rather a poster of the game than what they're offering there.
Michael in full light right behind somebody.
Yeah. The cards, that's a popular one for when you buy physical media, collectors DVDs and stuff. We used to have Dean on the channel, and he would show off a bunch of his stuff, and I can't tell you how many times he pulled out those cards. Almost, I'd say 90% of the pieces he showed off contain those cards. But then there's the extra skins. Like there's the clown skin, and then there's like the I don't know what it's titled, but like the Armageddon skin, kind of like the Jason skin from Friday the 13th, but Michael's
It's like
on
Sam
fire.
Hain.
Yeah, the Sam Hain one. That's it. Thank you. So you get the extra skins, and downloadable content is not cheap. And then on top of that, you have the more to come, right? Now, I don't know if it's going to be season pass or it's going to be a couple of maps included or some other trinkets. They're putting the final touches on this thing, obviously. It comes out a month after the actual game, and I'm buying the game digitally as well. So I'm not waiting a month to play it. That's for damn sure.
Part of the problem, Sean, that's why we're losing physical media, man.
Oh, for sure. It's too late in the game to be doing it. Like it needs to be real. Sony's not helping things either. Let's be clear on that front. When you have 500 movies get unlicensed, people who purchased them just no longer have access to them, which is ridiculous. But look, I haven't bought I've been with Jade now, I think 9 years, and I don't think in that 9-year period, I have bought a collector's edition to any video game. And I'm trying to think of the last time I bought a collector's edition to a video game. And it may have been Star Wars The Old Republic for PC, which was a late 2011, almost 2012 release. So we're talking almost a decade and a half since I felt the need to spend the money to get this thing. And it just so happened the EB Games, aka GameStop, about half an hour from us, had them in. They didn't think they would, and they checked the system. They're like, "Oh, please tell me you want it for PS5." I'm like, "Actually, yes, I do." And even though I'm more of an Xbox guy, and I was able to pre-order without even putting money down. Now, I went in a few days later and put $50 down towards it. And in Canada, to be clear, it's $200 Canadian. But the base game is also like, I think, 60, and then the extra edition there, which includes the skin, is 80, which I believe you get all the extra edition in this collector's edition. So it's important to note that it's not the cost of the base game; it's the cost of the upscaled one, right? So, and then all the extra trinkets. And while I do definitely think there's some marked up pricing there for sure, 100%. I don't know if it's as extreme as what you're saying. And if there's a season pass included, which Randy speculated, and I don't know there is, I have not heard that there is. I could see it just being a few more skins and maybe a special map. I quite like it, but I am stunned that it sold as quickly as it did, not just in the States, but in Canada. Now, I know they're trying to see if they can get more in and be able to fulfill those numbers for the October 6th release date. But if there's one positive you can take from this is, and whether it's scalpers doing it or not, pardon the term, it's a positive for Trancas.
Oh, yeah.
Because one of the reasons collector editions have stopped for a lot of games is people stop buying them. Not the case here.
Yeah, I got to that point where I was like, we'll get into this here. You get to the point where I'm like, I don't want another plastic thing on my shelf that's gonna just collect dust and like, it's just a plastic thing. And yeah, it's cool. So I only do it for very few select games that I know like mean a lot to me or have that sentiment of. So I'm not in any way disparaging anyone. If you want to buy that collector's edition, I will envy it. Just seemed to me a little bit out of hand, but we'll see. I could be 100% wrong, and I'll be crying when I don't get my Michael Clown skin going on.
So I think what's going to happen, and just because it's microtransactions seem to rule the gaming world now, the skins you're getting, eventually, I'm assuming at some point will be available to purchase. And I don't know if they're going to follow the Call of Duty model, but usually stuff like that's usually between 10 $20. So if you're getting the skins with the collector's edition and they charge like $10-15 per skin, I mean, there's your value in the collector's edition as well, in that respect. So just keep stuff like that in mind. That I mean, it's not like with Friday 13th they actually offered packs, clothing packs for the counselors or the people that are in there. But the only thing you couldn't get unless you offered up with the Kickstarter with them was the Savini Jason, which I think would have been absolutely amazing to have.
That pissed me off because that was the best skin in the entire game, I thought.
I just love that they let him create a skin for the game, and I would have loved to have it. But at least NECA's releasing the figure of the Savini Jason, so I might have to get myself that.
Well, along with the collector's edition, they also released the third official online map, and we've been talking about how we believe there's going to be 4 to start, possibly 5, and this is the third. We had a lot of praise for the second one when we did a little watch through for it. I know Johnny was on that episode, and can't remember if Dustin was there or not, but we're going to watch this third one here. Now, I believe this map is we see is it the Wallace residence in it? So let's have a look. And, almost all this area is playable too. So this is the third map we will be watching. Let's have a look. I've slowed down the playthrough speed so that we can soak in all the detail. Grove Estates. I miss those spinny things. There used to be one at the drive-in where I used to go. I like that inside these houses it's a little darker than the previous houses we've seen. There she is.
I absolutely love the fact that I feel like I'm watching a scene from the movie.
Yeah. I shot him 6 times.
Plus, they don't make them like this anymore. So, in terms of the houses, so it's
I mean, they have nailed the aesthetic for sure. Like some more blue lighting, but one thing I've noticed too is the images of Myers and some of the promotional stuff looks not like it's like that right there at the end. It looked more like the resurrection.
There's so much evil.
So there you have it. That is Orange Grove Estates. I would say that that map feels a little smaller than the last map we looked at, a little more intimate. But I would also say you're getting some big time final act of the original Halloween movie locations in that map. So that gives us 3 fairly different maps. Like, I do like the idea of being Michael Myers chasing someone across the basketball court. Or even being someone running from Michael. As much as I like being the killer in these games, I always like being someone who's trying to get away from the killer. But yeah, and as we see, more to come behind the little logo there in the bottom. We'll have to see what the more to come features, but I was pretty satisfied with what they... Look, if you go back a month, we're talking about if this game is going to have a physical release at all. And the consensus was it wasn't. Even from our sources, they did not think that it was likely this game was going to get a physical release, let alone a collector's edition. So there is a part of me that goes, this was a very late decision by them. There's a part of me that would not be shocked at all if it gets pushed back another month. But I'm pretty satisfied with what it offers, and I really do like the collector's case better than the actual case.
Okay, Sean, I have a question. So I didn't know this. The digital, if you get it digital, you can play it in September. But if you're getting a physical, you'd have to wait until October.
Correct.
Okay. So
that tells me they made the decision very late in the process.
Yeah, that tells me that. But also, it's like if you are a fan, you're like, yeah, I want to get this game. It's like to get the physical copy of the game, and you have to wait an extra month, which kind of sucks. But
no, and you know what they're doing is they're laughing because they're like, well, the diehards, they're not going to be able to wait that month. They're not going to.
They'll buy it digitally and then physically.
And they're laughing at me because guess what? I'm not made of money, nowhere close to it, and paycheck to paycheck guy here. And the nice thing is, though, I know about it early enough that I can just put down $10 here, $20 there on the collector's edition, and it really doesn't hurt my wallet at the end of the day. I'm not rushing to pay it off immediately, right? But
I think we're gonna have some. We have to definitely stream some that.
Oh, that's the plan. That's the only reason I'm getting. I do think the game's crossover. I could be wrong.
I believe it is crossplay. Yeah.
But I'm specifically getting it for PS5 because it's way, way, way easier to stream from a PS5 to YouTube. So it will be definitely a fixture on this channel for a couple of months, where we combined it in with our Monday shows, and not just Mondays. If we have other opportunities to stream, we will stream. But thoughts on the map, though, guys, compared to the other two maps we've seen. Did you like what you've seen? I mean, there's one thing's for certain: it looks and feels like Halloween '78.
Oh, absolutely. One of the things I'm liking about just the maps they revealed is they all have a different feel to them. Yes, they have their shadows. Yes, they have the ambiance. But like looking at the design of the maps, they all have a different feel to them. Like, you're going to have to play each map differently to some degree. You can't just go in like with what you could do with Friday the 13th. Didn't matter which map it was, you could just go in and play the same way. These are set up differently, and if I'm really hoping that they're going to be smart enough that every time you go into the map, certain NPCs aren't going to be in the same spot, or they're going to have different NPCs in different spots, so it's not the same thing over and over again. Now, obviously, that's a wait and see thing, but as far as the maps go, they've been doing a really good job and not skimping on any details. I loved going into that one house and just hearing the fire going. I thought that was great, which I'm like going, yep, I'm ready. I'm ready for that environmental kill. And then when I saw the drum set in the lower part of the house, I'm like, please tell me we can go down there. We can get some sort of stupid environmental kill with the drums. That would be so amazing. But yeah, they feel different. I'm assuming they'll play different, and it's exciting that they're really taking their time with these maps and giving us something unique. Whereas probably with like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and with Friday the 13th, you only had so much to work with. So this is a vast improvement.
Yeah, I think the NPCs too add just entirely different element, right? Like they're not just there, they're part of your mission, they're part of the actual gameplay. They change the gameplay. They change your ability to be successful during the map. And it doesn't even it doesn't even begin to discuss the fact that the little bit they've showed from the single player looked pretty impressive, all things considered. And I still think there's some people with just out of the world expectations for what that thing's going to be. But so far, I mean, it's hard to judge something before you've gotten it in your hands. But so far, I'm pretty impressed with what's out there. Whether it's the collector's edition, the game itself for multiplayer. I was really worried about Michael skins, right? Because like we know they're sticking to 78 at least for now. And we'd only seen the one skin for the longest time. But now we have the normal Michael skin. We have the statue Michael skin, which is a skin in the game. And now we have the Sam Hain and Clown Michael skins. So we're up to at least 4 different versions of Michael Myers for multiplayer. And we know that there's a 5th for single player in the hospital gown. So, it's a start, at least. I do believe there'll be one more map revealed. I don't know if that's going to be tomorrow when they do their little sit-down thing that's supposed to happen, which will be available, I think, on their YouTube channel. I think it'll just be a bunch of generic questions and maybe a couple of small reveals. I think you'll get another map revealed in a month or two. I think we're being set up to have 4 or 5 maps to start, and we'll go from there. But so far, I'm pretty impressed with what they're doing, and I'm looking forward to having some fun with you guys on the channel. And it should be a hoop. All right, that brings us to our final topic tonight. It'll be a quick one. We are here to discuss Star Wars. Last week, we ended up having the big leak reveal from Making Star Wars, who made their triumphant return out of nowhere. And, we talked about those leaks at length. 1 second, guys. Who's the studio that's doing that did Heavy Rain and Detroit Becoming Human and is supposed
Quantic
to
Dream.
Quantic,
do
yeah.
Quantic Dream? So they came out and doubled down that they're committed to getting the game done. Now we also know Lucasfilm decided to look into things themselves, and I don't know if they've decided to foot the bill or what's going on there, but like, you can't have another big ticket Star Wars project be 80% done and be like, oh, well, it's not coming out. It's just bad PR. It just simply is. I don't know anyone who doesn't want a Star Wars game where they get to craft the story. I've wanted it for years and years and years. So we'll see, but Quantic Dream's doubling down. The other piece of news, which just came out, I can't remember if it was yesterday or early this morning, is there is a new Star Wars Lego movie coming out. So if you like those little fun things, that'll be on Disney Plus. And the early rumor is it's a Star Wars The Mandalorian movie that features characters from The Mandalorian and all 9 films of the Skywalker saga. So I find them fun. I watch them with my kids, but that's kind of our Star Wars news for the day. Any thoughts, Randy?
I really hope that Quantic Dream can, get Eclipse done. I've enjoyed the games I played with them. Obviously, they're so story heavy, and that's usually a lot of QTE events. And that's how their action usually is. But with Star Wars, you can't do that. You have to have a good combat system, and that's where their issue has been. On top of failed games that they thought were going to give them money, then didn't. So I'm fingers crossed, because I know we're going to get a great story here, and I just need to see the light of day. As for the Lego movie, they're always fun. Lego in general, Lego is always, whatever, doesn't matter the property, whether it's a game or a movie, they're always a lot of fun. So it's definitely worth sitting down with your kids and watching. Hell, I've actually sat down and just watched them just for fun, because sometimes you just need that lighthearted sort of thing in your life, because there's just too much serious shit going on right now.
Yeah, and I think I want the game to come out. I would love it to come out. I would want it to be successful. I just kind of jaded, I guess, the fact that you say, well, you made the comment, you just can't have another game get 80% done and canceled. It's just like, look what they've done with the movies, where it's, hey, we're making this movie. Oh, we got the director, we got the cast, we're writing it, and then falls flat on its face. It's canceled, and we've seen that time and time and time again, where I'm just kind of like, this is just another one of those. And again, I hope it isn't, but I could see it being like, we just couldn't make it work, and unfortunately, we're just going to cut our losses, and this is going to cost X amount of money to get it done. It might be one of those things where they say, okay, hey, we're able to salvage it and put it together at the end, and they come through with the money and they can figure it out. That honestly, either way would surprise me. I would love, I love the Survivor series, the Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor, but I would love this kind of game from these guys. But making games is tough, and the way the games industry has been going lately, and for quite a long time, it's tough, and this will just, I hope it'll see the light of day, but I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't.
My window is open and I can smell a skunk outside. Fuck my life.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Damn thing definitely just sprayed somewhere out there. Oh, that's fucking awful. Well, that's going to wrap up our show for tonight, guys. 2.5 hours, and it's probably what they're going to run at during this House of the Dragon run. So I appreciate you guys toughing it out. It was a lot of fun. On a personal note, I'm not going to get into the weeds on it, but last week was incredibly tough. And this week is not going to be easier. And to have this as a form of escapism means a lot. And I look forward to what we have to come. Dustin, where can everybody find you at, buddy?
Well, I'm not going to use my usual. You'll find me here. I'm trying to be on as much as I can with the little ones running around, and just depends on that. I look forward to bringing more content for House of the Dragon as we close it out, and in the coming months, we're going to have quite a bit of stuff to cover with the Halloween game, Star Wars stuff coming out. I think having this podcast, this show, is great to be able to just take some time and put, everyone's got their personal lives and things that are happening, and being able to take some time and talk about things we love with people we like definitely helps a lot. And I look forward to being on as much as I possibly can.
Not something we got to discuss tonight, and hopefully we'll have a chance to dive into it more next weekend, but Avengers Doomsday tickets are going on sale very soon, even though we're way out from the movie.
There's a lot of stuff coming out with that, isn't there?
Yes, there is. And the most recent thing, to keep it short, would be, at least the most recent thing I heard from reputable people, are saying the movie is a convoluted mess if you're a general going moviegoer for the average audience member. Diehards might not feel that way, being, comic book nerds or whatever. But in terms of the way the movie sits today, that it's pretty hard to follow if you're a general moviegoer, and it's just so many moving pieces. Like the other Avengers movies had a lot of moving pieces, but not to this extent. And
I heard a quote. Something is they're failing to find the movie in the editing room, and when you hear that, that's kind of like concerning.
And despite that, clearly there's no intention on moving the release date back with them launching tickets.
June 3.
With them launching tickets soon, and my guess is the tickets will launch with the first real trailer for the movie. So we'll have to see. I've heard a lot about the movie, and I've been on here when we've talked a little bit of spoilers. And even I said, hey, what I've heard sounds really cool. It also sounds really busy and really messy. So I think it lines up. Current runtime of the current cut is sitting at 2 hours and 46 minutes. So a shade under 3 hours. We'll see. Look, when you make a movie that has, 25 protagonists in it, that's not very much screen time to go around, and some things are going to be messy, and knowing this is leading to Secret Wars, I just think after these two movies in general, the MCU is going to be, there's going to be some upset people. I truly believe that. There's going to be people that believe they wasted all this time. But they're also trying to set up their next phase, if you will. People say phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5. I would argue that these two movies here is the ending of the first era of the MCU and the beginning of the second era. How that goes, we'll have to wait and see. I'm still kind of bummed out about the Crystal Lake stuff that came out. But we'll see how it goes. Randy, where can everybody find you, man? Here, there, everywhere, where else?
I was gonna say I could pull a Johnny, but nah, I'm not gonna do that. I'll save that for him for whenever he shows up next. So over on
He's
X
busy
at
watching the Elm Street remake.
would not surprise me. Over on X at Giggity Giles, obviously here every week. Obviously, since we are in July, training camp will open up soon for the NFL, and with that, that means Sports Brew will be back. But if you are just jonesing to listen to people just talk shit, say dumb shit, and just have a lot of fun doing it, lots of laughs, you can go Google Sports and Brew and find the home feed on Podbean and just relive some of our greatest hits and hopefully laugh and have some fun along the way.
I've really been enjoying these extended episodes where first of all, I'm glad that I've been able to do them. But it's been nice to talk House of the Dragon. I can't believe we're halfway done already. Thankfully, at least next year we'll have probably 8 or 9 weeks coverage of the 6 episodes of The Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and then we'll have another House of the Dragon season in 2028. Hang on, I'm trying to. Oh,
I mean, we'll have that, and we'll have
double feature. That's hilarious.
We'll have that, and we'll have Ahsoka season 2 next year too.
Yeah, assuming that thing doesn't keep getting backed up, right? So
one can hope it doesn't.
Not trying to put that out into the universe, but yeah, it is what it is. All right. Big thank you to everybody who tuned in live, tuned in after the fact. I know most of our viewers come in after the fact these days. Looking forward to being back next week. If anything super duper duper relevant comes out of the Halloween thing tomorrow, maybe we'll do a pop-up thing later in the week. But for Randy and Dustin and Zach and Ryan, I'm Sean, and we will see you next week